Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Now, today we are going to talk about this man, aren't we? We're going to talk about Peter Faulding, and looking very dapper there, isn't he? Very dapper in his country squire outfit out there with the lovely blossom. This is from a BBC interview that we're going to look at in a moment because it's part of what we're talking about. Now, I was reached out to again by an ex-employee of Peter who has contacted me before. We've looked at some of the emails he sent me before. He's now reached out to me again to tell me of, because currently, I don't know if you've noticed, there's been, after the BBC documentary and various things, there's been another uptick again, hasn't it, on the talk about Peter Faulding and the Nicola Bulley sonar images. You know, this is what's got everybody's knickers in a twist. And has done ever since Peter originally said during the Nicola Bulley case. For those, I don't think you'll need reminding, but this, of course, is Nicola Bulley. Peter said she was definitely not in the river when he was searching for her. He then, after the inquest, etc., suddenly decided, yes, he had found her after all. And he went on record to say that, in fact, he had found her within 6 minutes. And in fact, this is her. This is the sonar picture of her. So there's been an uptick of interest again in proving whether these, well, everyone except Peter, trying to justify whether these sonar images are genuine or not genuine. I mean, they're obviously genuine pictures, but are they Nicola? And there's big debates on Twitter. I've been sent quite a lot of information lately, which I can't share because it's private. I've not been given permission to share it. I'm 100% certain that is not Nicola there. And anybody who knows anything about sonar, which I actually don't, but anyone who does know anything about sonar would probably agree that it is not a body. And you know, Peter has not been able to confirm these. You know, he told us he was going to send them off. He was going to be in touch with the Prime Minister and the Secretary of State and what he wasn't going to do. But after Christmas, though, he was going to get his nice Christmas out the way first. He was going to get his great Christmas out the way first. And then in the new year, he was going to, now we're now in November. No, we've had no verification, official verification of these sonar pictures. Just a load of people on Twitter, etc., all arguing about one person saying that and they're all, you know, most of them are faceless people, you know, that don't have genuine accounts, etc. So how can you? It could be Peter himself, you know, or Peter's one of Peter's followers, or, you know, we don't even know who these people are that are all arguing over these sonar pictures. So, you know, you can take it with a pinch of salt, any of it, to be honest. But, you know, we all have to just make our own mind up. Now, nobody thought better of Peter than me at the time when he was searching for Nicola. I had a lot of respect for Peter. You know, I genuinely believed everything he said. And it was actually when he came out with this ridiculous story about finding Nicola, and it all felt wrong from then on. And I was thinking about it. And, you know, Peter, if Peter's watching, I'm sure even if Peter's not watching, one of his followers will be, at least one. Peter's done this to himself. You know, if Peter wouldn't have said anything, you know, to protect his ego, you know, to say, oh, yes, I did find Nicola. If he wouldn't have said anything, because he said that, didn't he, in response to the police report that he knew was coming out, and he knew it was going to be damning of him, the College of Policing report. So that's why he came out with this ridiculous story. And you could just tell the way he did it, because, you know, all due respect, but he went to a very small YouTube channel, didn't go to one of the bigger YouTube channels, didn't go to mainstream media. You know, he did it in a very strange way. The whole thing was strange, and it was, you know, anyway, people make their own minds up. But of course, he blocked me on all his social media ages ago, last October, just because I dared to question the fact that, is this true? And that again was something that made me think, well, why block me? I mean, I'm only a tiny YouTuber. You know, what difference does it make to him, etc.? So there's lots of things sort of conspired together. But I think Peter did it to himself, because I think Peter, if you, as I say, if you're watching this and you want to come on, or you want to send any statement or say anything in your own defense, you go ahead. Because I do feel that if you wouldn't have done this, there'd be lots of people out there would still support you. Now, you've still got your supporters. There's some people, you know, but people supported Richard Allen, you know, the Delphi murder, and people supported other Brian Kohlberg, and think, you know, people will always have supporters. But I think they're dwindling a bit than they were, you know, because now Peter, of course, refuses to talk about it whatsoever. Anyway, I got this email from this ex-employee of Peter, who is one of the people on this photo of Peter with his team in busier days, when he had a bigger team than he's got now. And he said to me, you know, he started to talk to me about the case of Ellis Downes. Now, Ellis Downes was a 16-year-old boy who got into difficulties and drowned. And the police were very, very unhelpful, let's say, to the family. And the family brought Peter and his team in. And they did find Ellis, thankfully. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the case. And so, of course, this is a success story, if you like, that SGI have. But this person that used to work for Peter, who was working for Peter at the time, has sort of given me a version of the story. Now, no one's going to take away from the fact that it is brilliant that Ellis was found. I mean, it's very sad that he was deceased, of course, but at least his family, you know, could recover him, and quite quickly as well, whereas it could have gone on 3 weeks like Nicola Bulley, or longer like it does for some families. So that's, you know, nobody's taken away from that. I want to make that perfectly clear. And also, I am just the messenger. I'm just telling you, and I'm going to show you what the guy said about what happened in the case of Ellis Downes. And it's up to you to make up your own mind, whether who you believe, what you believe. I'm not here to tell you what to think. You know, my thoughts are more or less established about Peter now. But as I say, the thing is, the reason for that is Peter himself. I think Peter's been hoisted by his own petard. You know, he's like, if he wouldn't never have come out and said all that about finding Nicola, people would defend him, you know, would still, including me. Nobody would, he's ruined his own reputation, hasn't he? Nobody else has to do it for him. You know, that's how it feels to me. He's literally, from his own actions, lost the respect of a lot of people who were 100% behind him, including me. So I'm not quite sure why he did that, whether he knew that this thing was coming out from the police and he just had to counter that. But do you know what? If he would have said nothing, if he would have just made his statement and said, you know, I resent the police saying that it's not true, put his side over, anything. But to come out with this cock and bull story about actually finding Nicola, I think that has been a mistake by Peter. And I'm not really quite sure why he did it. You know, why did he just not stick to his guns and say, I tried my best. I thought she definitely wasn't there, blah, 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 blah. To come out with all this, it's just ruined his own reputation, in my opinion. Again, you've all got your own opinion. I know there'll be some of you out there think he's great still. And why not? Why not? There you go. Everybody, each to their own. So when I received this email, I was umming and ahhing whether to make a video about it or not. And then I received, somebody sent me a screenshot of something that had been put on Facebook. And I'm going to show you that now. When I can actually, right, I'll put that like that. Presenting the screen is always harder than presenting a video. So yeah, this message was put up there by Colin Scott. It's a public thing. I don't feel bad about showing it, because anyway, he didn't feel bad about casting aspersions on me, so I don't feel bad either. But this is one of SGI's top fans. Peter, are you aware of a video on Marie Chats? Didn't even get my name right, but never mind. That is defamatory towards, and I presume he meant to say you. And Peter Faulding answered. Now, bear in mind, I've been blocked by Peter Faulding. I can go on SGI, I think. I mean, there's always a way to find out, but I don't go out my way looking for what Peter Faulding's got to say. People send me things, which I'm very grateful for. Thank you to the person that sent me this, because it's always good to have a heads up. And Peter replied and said, I don't involve myself in other people's negativity. I am not fazed in the slightest of any of what I hear. Good luck to them. I have a very busy company to run. And Colin, oh my God, not really a sycophant, are you, Colin? Peter Faulding, well said, Peter. So there you go. Now, I just want to say, first of all, there's nothing that I say about Peter Faulding that's defamatory. Somebody I make it perfectly clear. Somebody sent me an email or somebody says something to me. I make it clear that this is what they're saying. I have my opinions. It's not defamatory to have opinions on somebody. So are you being defamatory towards me, Colin, by saying that what I say is defamatory? I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing. If there's something that Peter thinks I say that is not true, then Peter can come on here, or he can sue me, or he can do whatever he wants. There's nothing I say about him that's defamatory. Peter has said things himself. He's, as I say, he's hoisted himself with his own petard. He's done it, not me. It wasn't me who said, I'm going to send off the images to America and I'm going to go to the Prime Minister and I'm going to go to the Secretary of State. It wasn't me who said that. It was him. He's defamatory against himself. And now he just won't even mention it. It's like it never happened. And even fans of his who were saying to him, have you heard anything about the images yet? It's just like blocking them, blanking them. So, it's not defamatory, Colin. Maybe you need to look up what defamatory is. If I said that Peter was doing something illegal or, I don't know, casting slurs against him, I just think Peter was trying to save his ego. This is it. This is what I think. He was trying to save his business. In some ways, you can't blame him. It's his business. He wants it to be successful. I understand that. But, lying about finding some poor person's deceased relative in the river that he never did find is wrong. It's wrong in my eyes. And not only in my eyes, in a lot of people's eyes. So that's not defamatory. Okay, Colin? But thank you anyway for bringing me up on Peter's Facebook. Okay, so what we're going to look at the emails that I was sent. So it was when I got that, I thought, no, I'm not having that. Nothing I say is defamatory. So the and ahhing about whether to do this video or not became yeah, I'm going to do it. So what we're going to look at now. Let's have a look at Peter's website, because I think it's important. Let's see, what is Peter doing now? Or what is Specialist Group International doing now? Oh, all sorts of things. Specialist rescue, underwater search, protester removal and forensic search. The only recognised specialist team in the UK. Okay, so that's what they say. A world-renowned provider of 24/7 specialist rescue, underwater search and protester management response to police, fire and other government agencies. Formed in 1995 by the chief executive, Peter Faulding, regarded as one of the world's leading confined space rescue and forensic search specialists. I'm sorry, whenever I see that confined space, I just have those visions of Peter when we looked at him in the suitcase. What was it, 400 times or something, or hundreds of times he got into that suitcase when he was investigating the case of the spy in the suitcase. It just makes me giggle, sorry. So, yeah, a world-renowned provider of 24/7 specialist rescue response to police, fire and other government agencies. So, approved for police operations in the UK for underwater search. I don't know if that's true now, is it? Because he's not on the list anymore. Specialist rescue, confined space and working at height. Let's have a look at that. Yeah. Confined spaces, swift water flood and technical rescue from height. And we've got a nice picture, nice dramatic picture on the ropes there. Underwater search. The only private underwater forensic search team which is approved for police operations in the UK. I don't think that is true now, is it? Why is he still allowed to, isn't that false? I don't know. Maybe it's still true. Maybe somebody can let me know. But as far as I was concerned, or as far as I knew, I thought he'd been taken off the list. Specialist Group International carry out underwater search and recovery for the following police forces: Surrey, Sussex, Kent, Hampshire and Thames Valley. So maybe they've just been taken off it for Lancashire, and I don't know. But are they still on the list then for those other? I don't know. Just a bit confusing, isn't it? Protester removal. Peter Faulding is the UK's leading authority. Oh God, there's nothing that this man can't do on protester removal and management. The leading specialist, world-class, leading, number one, who major infrastructure projects turn to for professional advice. He is the key advisor to many government departments on the subject. Funny that, isn't it? He also sat on the Home Office Working Group for Policing of Environmental Protest. He has also advised the FBI, Dutch, German and Swedish police who have faced similar problems. Bloody hell, I don't know what we'd do without Peter, do you? He's saving the world, isn't he? Oh, and by the way, so I just want to point out, so remember, these are the different operations they've carried out. A lot of them quite a long time ago. And don't forget the animal protest removers. That's disappeared from this website now, hasn't it? Because he knew that people weren't really very keen on the fact that his protest removers went and removed the Huntingdon Life Sciences protesters, the beagles that had been tortured, and it's his company that went and removed those protesters. People didn't like that, did they? So he's taken that off. That's gone. Now, I don't know what these protests were. St Anne's School, Lewis, Network Rail. the Palace of Westminster during the Pope's visit to the UK. Which Pope? Like these, you can't click into these, I don't think, to see any more details. Anyway, forensic search. So these are the 4 things that they do. Peter and his team have been called into some of the most high-profile murder and missing person cases by police investigation teams. Peter's investigative mind, along with his search skills, has managed to locate human remains, firearms, and other evidence in the remotest of places. Peter and his team have been highly commended for their work. Peter presents extensively on no-body murder cases and has instructed the police and the military. Peter was invited to Washington, D.C. by the United States Secret Service, where he presented to their teams. Oh my God, do you know, this world would fall apart without Peter, wouldn't it? While in the United States, Peter also presented to the military and the Federal Bureau of Investigation at Quantico. And using his confined space skills, because of course he's the human mole, isn't he? He's known as the human mole. Peter has also carried out considerable casework and research on a range of suffocation cases, bodies in barrels, and sudden infant death syndrome, also known as cot death. I don't know, I've never heard it. Where did that come from? With this wealth of specialist knowledge, he has been an expert witness at coroner's courts and was a key witness in the investigation into the death of MI6 officer Gareth Williams, which involved him getting into a suitcase about 200 times. And he apparently helped out on the serial killer Peter Tobin case. But of course, he didn't find anything. I just want to say that. But anyway, so, oh no, he says he found a dagger concealed in the rafters, and it was found to contain the DNA of Vicky Hamilton. And this was the final piece of the jigsaw that the police needed to link Peter Tobin to the murders of Vicky Hamilton and Dinah McNichol. So, does anyone know, is that true? Was it 2 members of the SGI team that found the dagger concealed in the rafters? Anyway, you can go, he's associated with the News, the Mirror and the Daily Express, BBC News, London Evening Standard. Okay, so there you go. That's SGI. He's still working. I don't know, what kind of, he's very busy, he said. Do you remember? He said on that thing, he's very busy. He's not interested in what anybody's got to say about him because he's too busy running this very busy company, which, maybe is correct. I'm not saying it's not correct. So let's start now with so I received the email from the guy who used to work with Peter, and I've verified that he worked with Peter. He sent me his badge. So I do think it's genuine. Now, some people, it's up to you whether you think he's, to me, this man, when he's talking, he sounds very genuine. Maybe he just hates Peter. It could be that he left under a cloud and he's just trying to blacken Peter's reputation. I mean, that's always something that some people will think, and probably what Peter would say. That's why I'd like, if Peter wants to give his side of anything and, contest what this man is saying, well, fair enough. Or is it true? And if it's true, I suppose we're not going to hear anything, are we? Anyway, so let's start with this email that he sent. So I'm going to share. I've copied and pasted it onto a Microsoft Word document because I don't want to, I'm not going to publicize this guy's identity. I would say for what he says, maybe Peter would know who he was. I don't know. Or was there a few that left at the same time and he wouldn't know which one it was? which guy that worked for him it was. Oh no, so first of all, actually, I want to tell you about Ellis Downes, yeah. So now, what this is all relative to is because a case that Peter always brings up is this case of Ellis Downes, a 16-year-old, got into difficulty in water when he was with his mates swimming and very sadly drowned. And the police did I think it was Thames Valley Police, but we're going to look at an article anyway, dealt with it terribly. And in the end, Peter attended and they did find Ellis. So luckily they did. And, you know, I'm not taking away from that. I think that is brilliant. And especially for Ellis's family. Thank God, you know, and the police have apologized, but, you know, it doesn't take away from the fact they dealt with it terribly. So, police, where am I? Police apologised to the family over their drowning response. So this was in 2016. And this is his dad talking, first of all.
I rang the CID chap and said, look, you know, the dive team are here, let them in. He said, no, you know, we don't think they're qualified enough. They're not up to the job, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really want to hear that. I said, look, either you let them in or I'm going down, I'm going to dive in myself and I'm going to find him. So I went to the scene.
You know, that is a real emotive response, isn't it? And I think that would be a lot of our responses, wouldn't it? The police are saying they're not, one, they're not going in. Two, they're not letting the other people in that have arrived that, you know, because Peter, you know, he did, he will say the family contacted him, but according to the person who used to work for him, he contacted the family, you know, so you've got to believe who you want to believe. But he was there at the scene. The police didn't want him to go in. And this father, I don't blame him in the slightest, has turned around to the police and said, well, if you don't let them go in, I'm going in, because he wants to find his son, for better or worse. He wants to know where his son is.
A few words were spoken, as you can imagine, and within 10 minutes they had the go-ahead to go in. But the dive team were waiting hours and hours when they could have been in, got him out, and that was it.
Now, Anthony Stansfeld, the Police and Crime Commissioner in the Thames Valley, he says he has concerns about the way this was handled. What would you like to see happen next?
I think the whole thing has been miscommunication, cuts, obviously. We were told on the Saturday evening, the night it happened, police divers were considered. They were considered Sunday. But we didn't want to hear what was considered. We wanted action, really. And eventually a dive team were planned for Tuesday, which is, you know, all those days after. But Peter come up, done the job.
I mean, that is awful, isn't it? Imagine, so on Saturday night, your son goes missing in a river and the police are saying to you, we've got divers planned for Tuesday. Oh my God. I would have been in that water. Like this father says, you would just been in it yourself. You know, I'm getting emotional thinking about it. The thought of it, even your dog, you would be in there, never mind your son. So it was handled terribly. Of course, then Peter turns up. But now I've got to say that with Nicola Bulley case, it wasn't that bit wasn't handled badly, was it? The divers were in that very first day, weren't they, on the Friday? So you can't say that the response was bad from the Lancashire police, as in, you know, all the police divers were there, the fire brigade, the mountain rescue team, you know, everyone was in there on the very first day for Nicola Bulley. So I think that is not a criticism you could let, as much as we've got lots of criticisms about how the Lancashire police dealt with the Nicola Bulley case. I do agree with the police of College of Policing report. Their response was not something that we should criticise, because they did respond in that way very quickly. And now we can see this poor man and his family, they were put through torment, you know, with the police saying to them, oh yeah, Tuesday, the divers will be going in Tuesday, and this is Saturday. You wouldn't be able to sleep knowing your son was in that river, you know, even though you knew that he probably was deceased. But you want him out of the river, you know, you don't want him being left there for 3-4 days. So it was, you know, they've got to accept responsibility that they dealt with it terribly.
Very professionally. And as you said, he's never known anything like it. People wouldn't know communication between the police. Basically, all the family went down, cleared all Peter's kit for him, took it, ferrying it back. We never had any police help or anything at all.
So you can see,
said, look, you know, the dive.
So Ellis's dad obviously is very supportive of Peter. We're going to see what Peter had to say. And, you know, whatever else we think or don't think of Peter, in this particular case, we had a successful conclusion. It was good that Ellis was found quickly. We'll just listen to the dad talking without me interrupting this time.
I rang the CID chap and said, look, you know, the dive team are here, let them in. He said, no, you know, we don't think they're qualified enough. They're not up to the job, blah, blah, blah. I didn't really want to hear that. I said, look, either you let them in or I'm going down, I'm going to dive in myself and I'm going to find him. So I went to the scene. A few words were spoken, as you can imagine, and within 10 minutes they had to go ahead to go in. But the dive team were waiting hours and hours when they could have been in, got him out, and that was it.
Now, Anthony Stansfeld, the Police and Crime Commissioner in the Thames Valley, he says he has concerns about the way this was handled. What would you like to see happen next?
I think the whole thing has been miscommunication, cuts, obviously. We were told on the Saturday evening, the night it happened, police divers were considered. They were considered Sunday. But we didn't want to hear what was considered. We wanted action, really. And eventually a dive team were planned for Tuesday, which is, you know, all those days after. But Peter come up, done the job very professionally. And as you said, he's never known anything like it. People wouldn't know communication between the police. Basically, all the family went down, cleared all Peter's kit for him, took it, ferrying it back. We never had any police help or anything at all.
So do you think, reading between the lines there, this relationship, brilliant relationship that Peter supposedly had with the police was already getting a bit frayed for them? Because he had helped it, you know, he was on the list from what we know then. You know, wonder what happened that made this relationship start to go down the Swanee, you know. But anyway, I'm going to sort of address ideas about that shortly. So yeah, police apologised to the family of Ellis Downes after the teenager died while playing in the River Thames. The 16-year-old disappeared after entering the water at Culham, Oxfordshire on Saturday evening. His family said they were forced to hire a boat and find private divers to recover his body when they were left without police help. I do think the police must have learnt from this, because I think all the drowning cases that we've looked at recently, like Victoria Taylor, Gaynor Lord, and even Nicola Bulley for the initial response, etc., little Cielo Marazivo, the police have been there and diving, haven't they, initially? So maybe this was a lesson to them. Ellis's sister Alex said she was glad for the apology, but she added, words mean nothing without actions. And in a Facebook video message, Thames Valley Police Assistant Chief Constable Nikki Ross said, I am profoundly sorry for the treatment of the Downes' family over the weekend, in particular the level of support, the level of compassion, the lack of information and communication that we afforded them, and in particular Mr. and Mrs. Downes and Ellis's two sisters. That's so sad. Why was he treated? Was it because he was a young lad messing about? Did they just, you know, was it just like, oh well, you know, he deserves it or something? I mean, why were they treated like that? This fell far below the standards that we would expect from our staff, and I apologise for that. But as his sister said, you know, too late anyway, apart from anything. Replying on her own Facebook page, Ellis Downes said she was glad the police made the first step by admitting they had done us wrong by referring themselves to the IPCC. She said, all I want now is for things to change about the way Thames Valley Police handle operations so we can prevent this happening again in the future. Well, on Peter's website, on his SGI website, he says that he's authorised by the Thames Valley Police to help. So, is he? Ellis's father, Darren Downes, said he believed a lost dog would have got better treatment than his missing son. Mr. Downes said that on the evening his son went missing, his family sat for hours and hours without any contact from the police. And the thing is, the police knew this lad was in that river because the lad had been swimming in the river with his friends. He'd swam over to the other side of the bank, and then he decided to swim back, and that's when he got into trouble. And his mates saw he was in trouble. So the thing is, they knew he was in the river. It's not a lad who's gone missing. Oh, well, he might be in the river, or he might have got on a bus and gone into town. They knew he was in the river, so that was where he was. So that's where he should have been looked for. He wasn't anywhere else. Oh, so let's see what the town squire has got to say about it.
Murder cases, 20 years of forensic search and working on some of the biggest murder cases in the UK.
Let me go back. So
2 years of forensic.
Now, I hope, people probably, me calling him the town squire, it's just when he dresses like that, he dressed like that for the question and answer session that he did with the other YouTuber that he decided to, give his bombshell to. That's just Mancunian humour. If you don't understand, Mancunian humour is, sarcastic, if you like, or I'm not meaning any harm to Peter. He looks, I like his suit. It looks nice. I like to see a man in a suit. Just it reminds me of that little sort of, it's the waistcoat and everything. It's like, it's just a gentle joke. Please, get the sense of humour, police out there. Please don't take offence.
Search and working on some of the biggest murder cases in the UK. I've never had this reaction by anybody. We're always open arms to come along to help locate missing victims, and murder victims, either buried or in water or whatever, and we've got the results. So we're known for that. But to be actually turned away and being delivered the news by a police constable who the superintendent wouldn't even speak to us was, I thought, quite disgusting.
He doesn't like that, does he, when the superintendent won't even speak to him because he's, he expects the superintendent to speak to him.
Forensic search.
Let's watch it one more time.
Forensic search and working on some of the biggest murder cases in the UK. I've never had this reaction by anybody. We're always open arms to come along to help locate missing victims, and murder victims, either buried or in water or whatever, and we've got the results. So we're known for that. But to be actually turned away and being delivered the news by a police constable who the superintendent wouldn't even speak to us was, I thought, quite disgusting.
So Peter really complained. So it's disgusting. I mean, that's strong words to say about the police. Of course, you're in a position as the police, is you can't go on and say, well, we think Peter Faulding is disgusting. He's going on and using that colourful language, etc. But the police can't do that because they've got to be professional, haven't they? So there's probably a lot of things they're thinking inside that they just can't say. And you felt that strongly over the Nicola Bulley case as well. He does smirk a lot, Peter, when he's talking. He's that sort of... Anyway, so this is what happened with the Ellis Downes case. And so he eventually discovered that no divers had been used to search the river, and his daughter Alex had to contact private companies Thames Valley Police axed its specialist search and recovery team, which carried out underwater operations as a result of budget cuts in 2014. That's what I've been saying right from the beginning. You want to know where all the problems come from? They come from the austerity years of 13 years of conservative austerity where services were slashed. And the people who suffer from that are the normal public. You know, the elite doesn't, you know, they just get their own search team in. Do you know what I mean? It's like people who suffer from cuts to the NHS, to policing, to all these sort of things that, you know, keep society cohesive, etc. The people who suffer are normal working people or normal working class people, because they're the ones who need these services. You know, budget cuts, etc. They don't affect sort of rich people so much because they've got their own resources. They go to a private hospital or get private things. You know, it's people who rely on public services, whether it be buses, dive teams, NHS, whatever it is. If you're relying, you know, you're just a normal person going about your everyday life and you're reliant on all these things, God help you when you need these services that have been cut. And this is what the Downeses found. You know, there was nobody, there is no search team. They'll have had to get a search team from another area. So Mr. Downes said the private dive team was initially barred from entering the water, which delayed the search by several hours. We've just seen him saying that. And police finally relented when he threatened to go down and jump in myself. Dive team chief executive Peter Faulding has branded the police's obstruction of his team disgusting. Now, I wonder why the police don't like him. Because even if you thought that, you shouldn't really be going on the telly. Again, I think this is a question of Peter doing it to himself. You know, because when you go on the TV and call the police disgusting, the police are not going to like you after that, are they? You know, so it's not, you know, really, all Peter had to say was, well, the police have been hit by so many cuts, you know, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm glad that we could help out and find Ellis, etc. You know, he could be much more gracious about it than to go on there and say that the police are disgusting. So again, hoist by his own petard. If he wants to know why the police don't like him anymore, he's not got to look any further than his own words. So apparently the police watchdog was looking at how Thames Valley Police handled the case. And as I say, I don't know what the outcome was there. But one thing I do know is I think, you know, even in Nicola Bulley case, I think the police, they did get divers there and searchers there on that very same day. So you can't say that there wasn't an instant response. So maybe they did learn something from it. So that is what happened. And, you know, to all intents and purposes, it's like, you know, Peter, the hero to the rescue, you know, it's, and honest to God, I'm not taking away from any of it. This boy was brought back to his family, albeit very sadly deceased, but at least they found him quickly. He could be given a proper burial, etc. You know, it was a terrible accident that happened to Ellis, and I'm sure his family, you know, they're living with it now. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, a young boy on the brink of his life, just stolen like that, taken away by the river. Now, other good things, of course, Peter does. He goes flying around in his helicopter and giving out life jackets and things. So I just want to make it clear, it's not just a Peter bashing thing. It's just I want to show you the email that I was sent by the guy who worked for Peter. Also, it's, you know, my bugbear is this thing about Peter saying that he found Nicola. I do not think that is true, and I think he knows that it's not true, and that is my resentment, if you like, towards Peter, my only resentment towards Peter, because nobody thought Peter was better than I did. I thought he was brilliant. You know, I made half of the videos I made about the Nicola Bulley case, if not all of them, were based on the fact that he said he had not found her. And, you know, it was the mystery of where was she then, if she wasn't in this sort of shallow, clear river with no flow. You know, and he made those aspersions and he cast those doubts that something weird had happened to Nicola, etc. So, you know, that's why I'm doing this video. And that's why, and also, you know, people, it's all right, people saying I'm being defamatory, but, you know, they need to look at Peter and the things he's saying. So let's have a look at the email then. And we'll go through the email, because I don't know why the guy decided to send me this email, but as I said, there's been a lot more talk about Peter on social media recently, and for some reason he's reached out to me again and sent me this email, and this is his version of what happened with the Ellis Downes case. Hi, we spoke before. I wanted to provide some information. Just let me make sure you can see this. Yeah. I wanted to provide some information about the search for Ellis Downes. I was on that search with various others from SGI. I recall being called out to this as a dive team. The family had reached out to SGI apparently as it was in the news. We actually know now that PF had reached out to the family in his customary way. What we know is that the Thames Valley Police had declined to use a dive team to search for the missing 16-year-old. They had a location of loss of the youth, had used various above water elements to search, and the family had attended the scene. PF had tried to make contact with the search advisor, Pulsar, to offer assistance, but the officer, a sergeant, had refused help. PF decided to deploy his team anyway to the location, and PF had already contacted the press. So this is what someone who was involved in it says. On arrival at the scene, PF was making, so this is all allegedly. Let's just remember, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reading out to you what somebody who was there at the scene said. On arrival at the scene, PF was making various phone calls to the local police, local inspector and superintendent. They confirmed that the SGI team wasn't authorised to attend or welcome. We then met the sergeant, Pulsar, who was less than friendly. He inspected our vehicles, kit, and declined us to go near the river location. PF started threatening to go to the press, speak to high officials in the government. He likes to say that, doesn't he? Senior politicians. We kind of thought PF was making a bit of drama for everyone to try and get his team involved. Oh, surely not. I mean, PF doesn't do that, does he? The police refused to allow the team in. PF then phoned the father of Ellis and told him he would find him quickly. They should protest to police. Shortly after which the Ellis family and friends started to create a situation at the lost scene, some entering the water to try and swim. The police stepped aside and stated they would not intervene in the SGI team entering, but they would not assist either. I do think it's all very odd, isn't it? Because you would think that if the police, because of cuts, couldn't be authorised for a dive team until Tuesday, you think they would welcome Peter with open arms, really, wouldn't you? What is it, Peter's abrasive? I feel there's something more here. Why has he gone from being welcomed into searches, etc., which he obviously was at one time, to suddenly they don't want him there? What is it? What is the reason? There's a reason. The SGI team drove their vehicles closer and started to enter the scene with the police watching. The relatives are actually carrying kit for us. And that's what that guy just said, wasn't it? Ellis's dad said they cleaned their kit for them after. PF wanted to use his side scan sonar. I'm sorry, that side scan sonar, those words, oh my God. Despite the witnesses pointing out the actual direct location where Ellis had gone down. Normally, this is called the hot zone, and he's dived immediately. PF started to see Sky News and press arrive at our location. The sonar boat was deployed, a small red inflatable boat with a sonar kit. Unfortunately, the sonar computer and sonar wasn't working. It was an old system and numerous times had failed or was faulty. Crews sat in the boat with the press watching, and PF frantically tried to fix it with everyone watching. It didn't work. We were told it was totally unserviceable and needed to be repaired. PF instructed the boat crew to go out and pretend to carry out sonar scans with everything not working. Now, this is what he says. So, for about 1 hour plus, the crew went up and down only where the press was, with everyone watching. Little did they know it was a total fake search. Again, allegedly. I'm not saying this. This is what somebody is saying to me. The dive supervisor then approached the witnesses and confirmed the only hot zone. He argued with PF to do a dive before total loss by river currents. After a while, PF agreed, but he wanted the sonar boat to still move around in the background. An SGI diver was put in, called Marcus. After 15 minutes, the diver found Ellis in the hot zone, an area near the entry point of the youths. Police were informed and Ellis was recovered. PF used this incident to criticise Thames Valley Police, stating he should have been allowed to come in earlier. We were lucky on this occasion. Later, some weeks passed and PF approached the family of Ellis and got us invited to the funeral. Again, allegedly, I'm just reading out what somebody is saying. This is not me saying this. I have to keep reminding people of this. This was communicated to the press who arrived with us to go to the funeral. The SGI team refused to enter the church with press, and an argument occurred with PF, with guys angry that he was using it as a PR opportunity again. We stayed and went to a local pub, then returned to the SGI base later. Just wanted to clarify a few things, happy to talk more. So I then replied to this person, and I'm literally, these are the copy and paste of the emails. Hi, I would like to present this in a video with your permission. Obviously, it's good that Ellis was recovered, even if it was pure luck. Why do you think the police initially refused to dive themselves? Is it a cost thing? Also, do you think that once upon a time, PF had a better relationship with the police, and as time has gone on, things have changed? I'm always struck, and this is absolutely true, with what he said in his question and answer session, that he wanted a meeting behind closed doors like they used to. That is what Peter said in that question and answer session. Why can't I, what I want, he didn't want a reopening, remember, of the inquiry into Nicola Bulley. He wanted a talk, a meeting with high-ranking police officers behind closed doors like they used to. I think that's what the key is. They used to. Obviously not anymore. He's not in the inner circle anymore. I feel he's really put out by not being in the police's entourage anymore, and that's 100% how I feel. Where do you think the income comes from now for SGI if they're not called on so often? also, surely his equipment is outdated now in this age of quick turnover in technology, or does he update it? So, and that's how I feel, because you know what it's like. You buy an iPhone one year, by the next year it's maybe 3 iPhones behind, or technology updates so quickly. That would be the same for this sort of technology. So if Peter had this fabulous side scan sonar, how often does he replace it? Anyway, I feel that he and MWT used to have access that shouldn't have been allowed, but now things are different. In this age of scrutiny, the police are different and more cautious who they give info to. That the police get scrutinised so much now, they've got to be so careful. They used to do, literally probably 30 years ago, the police probably got away with so much, didn't they? And now and I don't mean that in a bad way, because they had much more leeway in solving cases, or now they've got to do there's so many rules, regulations, they've got to do everything by the book, or it can, come back and bite them later. And I think that's when people like Peter Faulding and Mark Williams-Thomas, that was their time, wasn't it? Because they were in the police's entourage, in the police's, they knew people in the police. Times are different now. I honestly do feel that. It's not only them, there's other people that used to be in the police that now always criticising the police. You noticed all these ex-police people, all on bloody Talk TV or this, that and the other, all criticising the police all the time. And the police deserve to be criticised sometimes. I'm not saying they don't, but they wouldn't have liked it when they were in the police, would they? And I would love to know why Mark Williams-Thomas left the police. That's all very secretive, isn't it? So I think this old boys network dwindles as time goes on. We're living in a different time now, although it's still prevalent, of course. Thanks, VM. And then the person answered, yes, no problem. So they've given me permission to talk about this. It was very good luck. More than the usual procedures we used. It was just common when PF turned up with a team that he would try and exploit as much press coverage, try to force his narrative of the search from the police, and push out the searches for extra money. He runs a business, so we guess this made sense. Now you can see that. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with that. What annoys me with Peter is telling the truth. You just say, well, I'm running a business and obviously I'm trying to pay people's wages. I'm trying to make a living for my workers. There's nothing wrong with that, but there is something wrong with causing all the uproar that he caused with false sonar pictures. That there is something wrong with that. So that is nobody is saying that Peter, and in this case it's brilliant that they found Ellis, and whatever they've done that's positive is fantastic, but Peter has caused all this himself. You think if Peter wouldn't have come out with all that he come out with, that people like me or anybody else would be questioning him in any way, shape or form? We all thought he was brilliant. We accepted what he said without question, really. So he's done this to himself. He has done this to himself. I'm sorry, Peter, if you are watching this, or any of your mates or whatever, you have done it to yourself. You should have just been honest. He never had the motivations of the emergency services to get things resolved quickly as possible. And it was clearly for a financial gain as well as self-publicity. The police refused to dive simply because they didn't have the resources to do a dive. They had disbanded their dive team years ago. They considered mutual aid from other forces, but were unable to get that help as anything local was already committed. The nearest police force was Surrey, who used the SGI often, mainly because SGI was within its borders, based at Dorking. PF had close contacts with senior officers at Surrey, having previously been used by Surrey Fire Services strike cover. This fire contract was lost due to Surrey County Council deeming it to be uneconomical. SGI was the only private company who undertook dive searches at the time, so it's more that the police didn't have anywhere to try and get those resources if other forces were busy. This has changed considerably since the NB search. Many police forces are now heavily funded. Oh, that's something good then. Are now heavily funded for sonar and underwater operations. The equipment, training and expertise is now available and of a much higher level than ever. This is most definitely due to the fiasco of the NB search in the media's eyes. Also, the reliance upon a single private company who was unregulated, non-vetted, no due diligence carried out, no oversight of alleged qualifications of staff, oversight of alleged expertise in sonar operations and crime scene management. Yeah, where's the qualifications? I mean, you know, it's all very well saying you're a dive expert and well, he's an expert on everything, isn't he? Wasn't he a yoga expert, according to one newspaper? No, he's got no formal qualifications or training, I don't think, in it. Or maybe he has, and if he has, prove me wrong and let me know. Once SGI was removed off the NCA experts list, that was it for SGI. It was a very strong message to all police forces to do due diligence. It's not hard to see why the emergency services, including police, won't ever approach PF or SGI again. Instead of learning from the poor work carried out at the NB search, PF constantly changed his narrative so many times, trying to avoid the criticism, blaming everyone other than his own actions, making many statements that made him look untrustworthy. SGI has no more dive call-outs or provide any external assistance within the search emergency services. Now, this is allegedly. Now, Peter says he's very busy, so, you know, maybe that's true, but I'm just telling you what I've been told. It's left a shell of a company with single-figure employees doing very little other than post training shots on FB, Facebook that is. Mostly the employees are helping out as farmhands on PF's large country estate in Sussex. SGI has a few small contracts left, mainly EDF protester removal, some security guards at Heathrow. Oh, security guards at Heathrow. PF is quite desperate to get on board with any underwater searches in the press currently. Anything to try and blank out the disaster of the NB fiasco he created for himself. So there you go. That's what I'm here to tell you about in this video. I hope you found it interesting. You know, as I say, you'll all have the views on this gentleman, Peter. The person who's given me those views is in this photo. I don't know who it is, which one it is. Here's Peter with his helicopter. What do you think the truth is about Ellis Downes' case? And does it matter? I mean, in a way, it doesn't matter. They found him. Surely that's all that matters. And, you know, if as I say, Peter himself wouldn't have come out with all this about the Nicola Bulley sonar images, he would still be respected as that, you know, as things that he would be remembered for things he's done to help. You know, he didn't have to say anything, Peter. This is how, you know, I don't believe him as well, because, you know, in the beginning, like he'll say, oh, he said she was categorically not in the river because he thought the police had, you know, searched, etc. He didn't have to say anything. He didn't have to say, he could have just kept his images, and he didn't have to wait till he was invited to the inquest. If he thought he had something to say, he could have spoken to the coroner before the inquest, no point after the inquest. Peter did nothing until the College of Policing review was coming out, and 100% somebody gave Peter heads up that he was going to get, you know, a bit of a slating in there, and that's when he came up with this story about poor Nicola. And now, so the whole world has seen these sonar images that he says is her dead body. So he said he was never going to release them, do you remember? Because out of respect for the family, I'm not going to release them now. And then he made sure they were released. Now they've been released to everyone. Now everybody's seen them. So, you know, Peter, I don't know. Only you know. At the end of the day, the only person who really knows what his motives are is Peter himself. And so that's up to him, isn't it? But he's getting on with his very busy company. And you know, and I feel very sad as well, because I thought a lot of Peter, and, you know, I really respected everything he had to say. I never questioned one thing. When he said she was not in the river like 2 million times, I believed him. I absolutely believed him. And, you know, I think it's quite sad now to think that really whatever he's done, he's only done for his own ego or whatever. You know, he's not done anything he promised by taking the sonar images to be verified, or maybe he did, and maybe he did take them, and then they said, "Oh, what are you talking about? You can't say that that's definitely a body." And is it going to be one of those mysteries? I mean, to me, it's a massive bottom, isn't it? And Nicola was very slender, wasn't she? You know, so I can't see, even if all the rest of it you don't take into account, I just think, how can that be Nicola, and where's her clothes? So anyway, there you go. It'll probably be one of those things that will be talked about forever. As I say, in my opinion, Peter, I'm sorry, I think you've done this to yourself. People would, if you'd never said anything, people would have really sided with you. Everyone was on your side, not the police's side. You didn't have to do this. Anyway. Okay, so I hope you found that interesting. I know I'll get a load of trolls coming out, because that's what I always get if I mention anything about Nicola Bulley or Peter Faulding. But, you know, I just thought I wanted to give this guy's opinion. I think it's more than an opinion, because he was actually there. But whether you know, who you believe is up to you, isn't it? Anyway, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the like button. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Let me put my little banner on. I didn't do my thanks. Thank you, everyone who watches my videos. Thank you, everyone who's subscribed. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm sure there'll be more to this story to come. Special thanks, as always, to my members. Why not think about becoming a member from only $1.99 a month? And what else? Oh, thank you, people, for buying me a Ko-fi, or for sending me a super sticker. People who have PayPal me, etc., sent me nice emails. Don't forget your nominations for Twonk of the Year awards. Which, gosh, before we know it, it will be Christmas and it will be New Year, and we'll be doing the Twonk of the Year awards, which I think everybody enjoyed last year. So take care, and until I see you again, as always, may your God go with you.